See me.
Okay. You did, because he's a director and he's smart.
My name is Gary Donatelli, daytime director for many years.
Television director, not just a daytime director.
That's right. I had the honor of working with these two wonderful women, okay, at different times. And so I guess we're going to talk about daytime, all right? And I'll do what a good director does, which is when you've got talent like this standing around, you step off and let them do what they do. Okay, and if somebody has a question for me, I'll be happy to answer, but otherwise, I'm here to introduce Eileen Kristen.
Eileen Kristen.
And Marilyn Kirk. For two non-Goyim, they both got Jesus in their name. We'll talk about that later. Here we go.
Chris is from Christopoulos, but we're not going to go there. Okay, I've done this once before, and it's great fun because you're all kind of, whether you're fans or not, you're smart. So tell us what you think you would like to know, and all you need is a couple of words, and one of the three of us will just babble.
Yes.
So, has
We
anybody
babble
got anything?
very well.
Why did you come here?
You know, it was just so much part of my life. You know, I love soap operas, and I watch One Life to Live and everything. So I just, you know, it's interesting hearing stories, and you know, just about their life and their trials and tribulations and the people that they came across, you know, through acting.
Well,
It's also air conditioned, really well, and it's hot as hell outside. That alone
And that's
is
a good thing too.
Okay.
One of the great things about One Life to Live, I think, in the history of daytime television was that it started in the late 60s, right? It was the first show to have a storyline with Black American. It had a storyline with Jewish family, of which I believe your story.
No, I was Polish.
You were Polish.
Wanda Wallach was Polish.
You weren't Polish.
I was Polish. I was
You weren't
Polish.
just hiding?
No, and I was not in hiding. I was Polish.
All right.
Wanda was Polish.
And what year did you get there? And tell us about it.
72, I think I got there. And it was at, you remember that? Did somebody go, they remember 72?
She said,
Whoa, 72-ish. And I started out, it was supposed to be a 3-time shot to bring Lee Patterson. Do you remember Joe Riley? That was supposed to be the one that came. I just was running a little coffee shop, and he came in and he said that he's back from the dead, or he's back from, I don't know where he came back from, but his other job didn't work out. So Lee Patterson or Joe Riley just materialized, and I was supposed to bring him back to Vicky and the rest of the living world in Landview. And after the 3 days, they said, do you want to be a regular? And I said, oh, I don't know about that. I have to do art. I have to be in the theater. I don't know that I can do daytime. And then they set a figure of how much they would give me. Per day was about 4 times I was paying for my rent for the month. And I had a young boy who needed braces and clothes and school, and I was very easily corrupted. And I did like it a lot for a very long time. I liked it until I left. And it was great fun, and you people that had watched it are very demonstrative, and it feeds us in a way that is quite terrific, because sometimes you do a movie or when you do nighttime, it's very different than when the actor / character is in your kitchen or your living room every day. You got the curlers in your hair, and you didn't brush your teeth yet, and we're telling you, whereas at night the family is home, or if you go to a movie you have to go out. But when we come into your home during the day, there is a different kind of relationship that I think is really quite wonderful. I mean, I don't know that it exists anymore. There are very few left, but I don't think it exists anymore.
You know, the bond between a daytime performer and the audience is quite extraordinary, actually. I've never experienced it anywhere else. And I did a couple of long-running, I did Grease on Broadway for 2 years. And we had a group of people that would come back and everything.
It's different.
Very different.
It's different.
Very different.
And they're out of their home, and it's a different, you experience, the experience you have is different when we come into your home during the day. You know, you're shaking your head that you agree with me. It's a different thing, you know. It's what?
I still watch soap operas,
Okay, there are very
daytime
few left.
dramas.
Yeah, there are very few left. Honestly.
I know, but I like you get to feel like they're family.
They're family and they're
That's
friends.
pretty
I
much.
remember when I first started, a lady friend of mine that I knew from Brooklyn moved to Queens, and she suddenly had a house, and she had a line outside, and she would put her clothes on the line. And the first few days when she was meeting new people from the neighborhood, from the yard and stuff, do you know Wanda? And my friend said, is Wanda somebody who lives? No, she's on my stories. Do you know Wanda? Do you watch one of my friends? And it was very different for her because she had not had that experience, before. In Manhattan, you don't get it quite as much because people are in their little boxes.
Well, you
and
get
they're
it on the
walking.
subway, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Really.
okay.
The subway is my place, because that's where I get to meet and greet a lot of people, which is,
When did you start at Ryan's Hope?
I started in 1975, and I had been doing Greece for 2 years, and I left Greece to do more theater. And then my agent had called me about Ryan's Hope, and I wasn't really interested at all, because I considered myself a comedian, and I really wanted to stay in that
You
area.
a comedian?
Yeah, well. But he read me the description of the character of Delia, and I was kind of fascinated in it. And then he said, it won't run longer than 6 months anyway.
Wow.
And it ran quite a lot longer.
Surprise.
I wasn't with the show for the whole time I was there. Left, came back, got fired, came back, and then we went off the air.
And that was a half-hour show, right?
Yes.
What was it like? Did you say between working on a half-hour show to an
Very
hour
different.
Let
show?
me just say, though, different. Less filler,
More story.
more
More story.
story.
More story, yeah.
You can elaborate on that.
Oh, absolutely, because the other way, they do all these little pieces and they keep everything running. When it was a half hour, it was concise, you came in, you did the work, you learned it, you acted like it was a little play, and you did it. When it's an hour, it's like taffy. It just kind of went out and out and out.
It
And a little
dissipated.
scene and a little scene and a little scene, and then do it a third time and a fifth time. Sometimes I wore a dress for months. For one day. One day dress kind of stood there all by itself.
They could go
You
for
know,
weeks.
Months sometimes, it seemed like months. Wearing am I going to wear the same stinking dress? It's the same day? It's different, it's different.
And Claire Labine, who created Ryan's Hope, Claire Labine and Paul Mayer, they really wrote their asses off. I mean, the scenes were 12 pages long, and they were monologues. And it was really
Like doing a play.
it was just like doing a
It's
play.
like doing a little play.
And it was a lot of theater actors, Helen Gallagher. A lot of us had not done television before. We had done Broadway, and it was really
I'd
different.
never done television.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Never
It
done
was-
television. There was very little television being done in New York. There wasn't Law and Order, and Law and Order SVU, and Law and Order PU. Now,
Yeah.
even that's getting less now, but there was very little television. And I was working in Living Theater.
There was a lot of variety, because when I started out in the business, my mentor in the business was a very famous dancer named Matt Maddox, who became a pretty famous choreographer. He did the Bell Telephone Hour. So my first job was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're on. You're on. There wasn't even like a 3-second delay, I don't think. And then I did Ed Sullivan when I'd done another Broadway show when I was 15. And that was the same thing, the Ed Sullivan thing, that was live. There were no retakes on that.
No retakes in life.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious what your relationship was like with the actors' union, if you ever had to deal with writer strikes or you felt they were.
Well, I was the union rep. Were you? I was the. The
No, I
deputy.
was not.
I was the
I was
deputy.
not. But, I'm a union girl. At 14 years old, I joined the union, and I really believe that the union, most of the time, kept us safer than we would have been.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What was your exact question
You were
about?
talking about the writers?
Well, I was throwing it out there. I didn't know if you had ever worked through a writer's strike, because I know there had been some over the
Yes.
years, and how that
We
affected.
worked through writer's strike. I picketed with them. But the thing that was very strange was, in the beginning of Ryan's Hope, it was NABIT that was on strike, correct?
Mhm.
So we crossed picket lines on that, which didn't feel good. It never feels good crossing.
I don't remember crossing the picket line. Maybe I wasn't
I
around
I
when
think
there
I
was
do
one.
remember that.
But I was always the union rep because whenever management can, they will take advantage.
Mhm.
Whatever the business, I don't care. Even in the remarkably glamorous acting business, if they can get us for nothing or make us work another 5 hours and not pay overtime and not clean the costumes if you're wearing your own clothes.
And not give you a bathroom break.
That too, that too. Just keep going, just keep
Yeah,
going, go to the
okay.
bathroom right
Yeah.
You don't have to eat now, you don't have to pee. So I was always the one that volunteered. I did it in the theater as well as in any television thing I've been on for any amount of time, because I am not afraid for some reason of bosses or management or anything. And when tact fails, I'm not afraid to open a big mouth. So I've always fought for actors whenever I could.
I've done it for equity.
And
I've been
I will
equity.
say, as a second vice president of the Directors Guild of America, as there was for a number of years, I understand the courage it takes for an actor to be in that position. It's also a testament to Marilyn's acting abilities that she kept working.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
That's because it takes a lot. It unfortunately is part of like economics everywhere, I think, to get something for as cheap as possible. That's why all the jobs are not in our country anymore. But here we are. When I was a cameraman before I became a director, and one of the union reps before I got involved in all of that, said to me one time, "Gary, never forget that you're a necessary extension of the equipment. They'll love
And
you.
you too are
They'll
replaced.
talk to you like they love you, they love you, they love you, but you're a necessary part of the cog, okay? And they're a bunch of cogs. That being said, it requires a work for the groups to work together. You mentioned the writer's strike, and that was a particularly horrendous time in our industry. It cost a lot of people a lot of money. It cost some people their homes. As a director, I'm very I'll just say that it was a feeling amongst the other unions that the Writers Guild was a bit hasty in their going out on strike over the internet that was going to make everyone $1 billion. I don't know if you're aware of it. It makes some people money, but it doesn't make actors and TV people a lot of money yet. And while we did go and support them, the underall feeling was that they got us all into a lot of trouble prematurely because they didn't do their homework. And I don't get off on all that, but I will say that in the country, there are very few union situations anymore. What producers and companies know about actors and performers is that they
They'll
would
do
do
it
this
for nothing.
free. See, I don't even have to
That's
say it.
right.
They'll do it for free. Okay, that's why they need protection.
You
That's
need a
right.
union, you need an agent.
Because they will work them for hours and hours and forget about dinner, forget about lunch,
That's
and just
right.
keep going.
Let's
And
just do it. Let's
people
get it.
like
Yeah.
them will keep showing up and keep doing it because they love to work. And let's talk about that part. Let's talk about the liver. What can you give me each? Do you remember? Let's see, who remembers first? Your favorite scene that you got to do, and
There's a lot of
worst
stuff in the
scene?
beginning. You seem to have, June, whatever your name is, you
Joan.
seem to have watched it from the beginning.
My,
It was,
I had a Florida grandma, my father's mother, and she would visit, a few times a year, and she had her programs. That's what they were her programs.
my story.
It was CBS, so it would have been, I think, Search for Tomorrow, and
As
whatever.
the world
came-
turns,
As the
guiding
World
light.
Turns. I don't remember that, I remember the one where I think David Hasselhoff was Snapper.
Yes, young and the restless. Yes,
We called it Snipper.
yeah.
But they were my grandma's programs, and the other thing that I will say, I went to college in 1983. So there was a group of us who were very big on One Life to Live and GH. How do you watch your programs if you're in class and there's no VCR? So there were a group of us, you couldn't keep up. There was no electronic. I went to college with a manual typewriter, okay? Not even electric. But there were a group of us, we have to catch the end
Well,
of
that's
GH
just,
in
but it
loud.
made it an urgency to actually watch the show, whereas now you can watch anything on demand anytime you want, which takes away that urgency of having to be home,
But also looking forward to 2
Yeah,
o'clock in the
very
afternoon. I can't
involved.
wait to see
Very
what happens.
involved.
Are they really
They
going
were
to kill
my-
Todd?
But at least you could record it. Well, whatever.
Yes. But my grandmother also started me on her show was Another World, and that's how I got started on soap operas when I was younger. And that was
We
it.
gotta get him young, that's
And
what
that
we
was
want.
it.
Get him young, we got him for life.
It's
Worse
true.
than smoking.
It's true. I love meeting, everybody. I've actually met Eileen once before at a cabaret night. I think it's Metropolitan Room. My
Oh, yeah.
niece,
Did I perform?
I believe so.
Was she wonderful?
Yeah. Yes, of
Okay,
course.
that's all.
By the way, Eileen has a CD out
Yes.
called "I'm Not Done With You," letter U yet. Check it out online, Amazon.
It's very
Good stuff.
jazzy. I wrote everything on it.
And I was just wondering Marilyn, what you've been doing since,
Oh, well, I quit in '93 and I've done a lot of little movies. I did some big movies. I did a lot of Law and Orders. The last 5 to 8 years, my husband has not been well. So I've started a short film festival at North Shore Towers here in Floral Park. And I do that, and I try to do readings as much as I can where I can leave him for a short period of time and not, even with the union, once we're doing it, let's stay a little later, we'll figure out the scene and we'll do this and we'll do that. So I haven't been able to do much in the last 5 to 8 years. But my mind is still there. And I have to find somebody to write a little movie for Eileen and me to do,
Yes.
where I can be her crazy mother, or she can be my crazy daughter, or we can both be crazy mother daughters. We gotta get somebody to do that. And Gary will direct it, and Debbie will produce it, and Ann and Henry will put it in their theater.
Right.
So I've just taken care of the rest of our
Works for me.
Yeah, exactly.
But you all better come, because otherwise
I'm
we
there.
won't make it. Okay.
I have a question for all of you. What I found, as difficult as it was to memorize a 12-page scene, I felt that the audience, you could take the audience way deep. And right now, when I did General Hospital, which I did for we call them drive-bys. Those scenes, they're like drive-by shootings. It was like blah, 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 boom, done. Then,
Hi, how you doing? Where
Yeah.
are you going? I'm going out. Boom,
Yeah.
cut to the next thing. He's dead. Oh my God, who shot him? I don't know. Boom, into the hospital. 5, 4, 3. Oh, he stopped breathing. Boom, boom, back to the girl reading the book.
I don't think the audience,
They all
See,
do
that
Red Bull before this
connectivity.
rewatching it.
that connectivity to the actor and to the situation is not there as much. I mean, I know people will watch General Hospital, as long as it's on, they're gonna watch it. But are they as connected, or do they feel? I mean, when I did Ryan's Hope, and even most of the time, for a long time with One Life to Live, but particularly with Ryan's Hope, and particularly with your scene, back in the day, people really went with you. They just took that
They
trip.
took the journey with you,
Journey.
and you were allowed to take the time to think of something and let it percolate and then put it out, and then you would take it from us, and there was a give and take. You asked about a favorite scene. Early on, Wanda was being proposed to by Vinny, and we took these long pauses and talked to each other and listened to each other. And the memorable time for me, there was one, and it only happened one time. It didn't get drawn out for 40,000 days. It happened one day. I wore the dress for the one day, and then I changed my clothes. That he said, "You want to marry me?" Now, if you went, then go faster,
Cut.
pick up the cues. You want to marry me?
You don't get to make the transitions on the screen.
And
Like
let life
Delia,
happen.
I would have to make a transition in the middle of
Sure.
the scene, a transition 3/4 of the way through, turn on a dime at the end, so that the audience would,
Would come around, of course.
and they would go with you.
And
Well, there's a difference, I think, in the world pace now, where there used to be, where we would have moments where we would, as a director, we'd pull out wide and give the audience time to digest the moment. As you were talking there about her and Vinny, I loved I was a camera assistant at that point at One Life to Live. And I loved their relationship because it was so real.
Did he really say that?
The beauty of being a director in a New York show was all these great New York actors. Even if we had a 5-line character for the day, or under 5, the quality of people that we would get in. But while I'm sitting here looking at Marilyn, I'm thinking about the day that Vinny got shot, and I know that I cried then, and I'm an Italian, I cry, okay? But when that scene ended with the work that she did, first of all, on the show, there was a moment of silence and let people weep and mourn and feel, but it was the same on the whole set. It was a somber, beautiful, real moment. That's the real challenge for these kind of actors, for me, is that, you know, you don't have a setup like a play where you've got a couple weeks to craft, or a nighttime TV where maybe you should do 8 days to shoot 1 hour. This is an hour a day, you know, to come in, assess your material, and then make it real. That's what these two always had for me, and I always looked so forward to them. Comedy, both of them are very good at comedy, and comedy's really hard to do. Nighttime sitcoms, they rehearse all week at a table, you know, all week for a half an hour to get that right, and then do it in front of an audience, see what works, what doesn't work, retape it. We would come in and do comedy, you know, in 20 minutes after running it a couple times, but it was because of how sure these, and I say this, they were like beautiful trail horses, palominos, that I knew I could really like step back and let them take it.
It's a compliment. The horses thing was a compliment.
Yeah, believe it or not.
It was a compliment.
Yeah.
You both,
I grew up in love with Trigger, I'm sorry.
you both did a lot of comedy. You
Sure,
did
sure.
comedy in One Life to Live.
Yes.
a lot.
Sure, sure.
You were meant to be that kind of character.
Yes. And playing Roxy was a very different experience for me than playing Delia. Although Delia, before we went off the air, there was a lot more comedic stuff, but Roxy was really, and you know, and the truth of it is, I would have paid them to do Roxy, actually. You know, I didn't want them to know that, but I think they knew that about me anyway, unfortunately, because my salary wasn't that.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
Eileen and I could be had.
Yeah, we could be had. We really could be, you know. I'm proud of that in a way, because it's never been about the money. It's never, you know, it's One Life to Live turned out to just be an amazing experience for many, many reasons. I liked being in that little armory space, particularly because it was like.
So did I. Then you went to the meat locker.
Yeah.
Whoa. They asked me to come back for a wedding for the last few, what was it, the last few shows or whatever. Somebody's going to be a wedding and then the show was going to go off the air. And I said, I don't know if you can go home again. I don't know if I want to do it. Let me come by and just see everybody and see what's doing. And I went to this meat locker,
The new studio.
the new studio. It was frozen, I don't know, they thought they were doing heart transplants there. It was so cold. And I saw her,
Well, there
it
were
was
some
okay.
cold hearts in there.
Yes, indeed, there were, and I saw Erica. And other than that, I thought, what am I gonna do here? It's not an atmosphere for me here now. So I told them I got a movie in Canada. That's one I did very often. I had a movie in Canada, and I was not involved with the end of the show.
Yeah, it was very sad, the last days of One Life to Live. And then we thought it was immediately going to be picked up for the web series, but.
I can't watch it, I was on like that.
Didn't it go on, that's
It
what
did,
I
it went on Hulu or something.
But
for a while.
it didn't last very long.
No, well, Gary was involved in
No,
that. They
it did
did
not
not
last
ask
long.
me to do it.
And you know, it was interesting in that, well, the difference between where they were talking about the beginning of One Life to Live and Ryan's Hope, where it was really set like a theater piece. You'd come in the morning, come around a table, you'd read, then you'd go up to the set, and you'd work the set with the actors.
Slowly.
And then they would pull out what they called red chairs, which were all these red chairs. They would have the whole cast sit down, just like a theater piece. And the director and the team would go through and talk to the actors about the different things for the day, okay? And after that break, they would go into taping, like a show. And then also at that point, actually, it was taped in order.
We did a run-through afterwards. We did a complete run-through.
Did a blocking run-through,
We
a
did
complete
a complete dress rehearsal, and then we taped.
And then
In
tape.
order, so you had it in order.
And what that means is that technically, let's say this table is the Lord Library, this is Wanda's restaurant, this is Roxy's Saloon, this is you know, the police station. You got to have cops and rich people, right? And that's the Lord Library, okay? As technicians, we would be set up to go, that's first, what's 1A, that's 1B, that's 1C, that's 1D, that's 1E. We're going to do the act in order, okay? So all the actors would be on their sets, dressed up and anxious, okay?
Nervous.
With their papers,
Yeah.
okay? Like
Very
this.
good.
I get goosebumps thinking about this. It's so beautiful.
Yeah,
To see, what you didn't see behind the scenes was this choreography of, we're in the Lord Library, okay? Dorian and Vicky are doing their thing, okay? And there's a wide camera that has both of them. There's a left camera and a right camera for the close-ups that we're going to have at the end. Right before the end of the scene in the close-ups, the wide camera would move over to the next set silently with a microphone and set up. And I remember seeing, and then as that scene ended, we'd start on the wide camera and the other cameras would come over to fill in and start cutting the intercutting. I loved seeing the actors right before they were coming up, watching the other actors and saying, God, that was really good. We can do better than that. Yeah. And then they would.
But you have an idea where the story
was, and the flow of the act would have that continuity to it.
And it would have a kind of life. It wasn't just boobs.
Right. And what happened was, because of dollars and cents, it got to where initially it was cost effective to do 1A, 2B, 3C, 4C, 5D, and 6A in that set, then move everything over to that set and do all those pieces.
Unless
Then,
you
of
have to
course-
change your costume.
Yeah.
Change your costume.
Well, then what would start to happen was, well, we can do more than one show a day. We can do a show and a half and save money. So then we'd go to this set
Three
and they would do
shows.
3 days. So these people
I
would be,
wasn't
instead
there
of
for that.
crafting one day of,
You
say,
have 18 scenes. You could potentially have 18 scenes, one after the other. 3 days worth of work. Now,
well, just
I wasn't
imagine
there.
trying to craft,
Yeah,
like she was, Marilyn was talking about, of taking your work for the day with your partner and crafting those 4 scenes, let's say, or whatever it was, and really working it through with the art. But then imagine trying to get together on a day of rehearsal with that person with those scenes, then somebody else for the 2 scenes that follow, and then, oh, you got to put on a sundress for the 3rd one, and so and the actors from the different sets didn't have the continuity of the story that they always used to have.
Yes.
And so pieces start, it's like you make a salad. When you got nice big pieces, you can stick a fork in it. When you cut up the salad too small, you can't get a fork in it. And that's how I used to always feel. There was like, I can't get a fork in this. It's so hard to do the craft work.
plus with the inexperienced actors, what would happen, they're doing all these shows, they didn't know how to build. You don't know how to build from point A to, so there'd be this kind of generic,
Attitude. Attitude.
Yeah, but
Quality.
let me
Yeah.
just get through it. Let me get through it.
Yeah.
Let me get through it. All right, that scene went okay. I'll just kind of keep in the mode of what I was doing, rather than this build of seeing where the character really needs to go in the course of these 3 different shows. There'd be a dull sameness. But then, if you're an old pro, you know what it should be. So then your indulgence, like, oh, Eileen stopped because she didn't like the way. Well, I didn't like the way it was going because it wasn't
Just do
right.
it. Just do it. We'll talk about it later. Just do it. Just finish it. Just finish the scene.
So you're penalized, for caring.
Yeah.
Like, that's sick.
The internet thing you mentioned, the startup was interesting because with what you're hearing here about how the actors adjusted to get into this point where we had been doing 50 or 60 pages of content a day, and all of a sudden we were doing 120 pages a day. I once had a day where I don't know if you call it directing, I directed traffic for 156 pages in one long day. Okay, it's like I felt like I had been beaten by Muhammad Ali by the time I walked out of the place. But when Life to Live goes off the air, this new corporation comes in and wants to do this thing online, and they're looking to do 120 pages a day, first day. If you'll recall, we started talking about how One Life to Live went on the air in 1968. There was a factory there. It's a fantasy factory, but it's a factory. And that system, that production line was honed to perfection
and
over the course
function.
of 40 years, okay? this new company came in and expected that kind of precision now, and they needed it right away because they had to find out how to sell the thing, and they were a little shady, and that really cost
But,
them,
you know,
and it crashed.
Too bad.
But you know, we got the monster up and
There's
moving, and then
also some-
it
you
died.
know, you have this whole Pokemon thing. I come from an advertising sales background, trade magazines, a broadcasting magazine, newspaper publishing. I don't know if you guys remember Editor and Publisher was a print magazine. So everything has gone digital. And I'm very British oriented, so I love British programming. And I have HBO. You know, I don't stream anything. I don't, have Hulu or Netflix. But there's so much great product out there that there isn't enough time, in the day to watch it all and, pay attention to it and everything. I remember One Life to Live in GH for a half hour. Then I think they went to 45 minutes, which
That's right.
was interesting, and then an hour. So now, especially with online, I really don't watch anything live. I gotta go to the bathroom, I'd rather record it, come back to it.
Sure.
It's all about the money. Everyone is distracted by their phone and commercials. So you're either gonna make it or you're not, or you're gonna last 3 episodes. I don't watch any comedy on TV.
Because we're not out.
Are you funny enough yourself in your own life, or what?
I love Ballers and Survivor's Remorse. I think Ballers and Dwayne Johnson, he is just.
I love
he
him.
is
I'm gonna just say it.
He's a gorgeous, funny guy.
He is unbelievable.
He's fantastic.
But
He's good.
I've never watched whatever that Jim whatever. I just don't watch comedy. But you have a lot of competition for attention. And then it's, there aren't that many of them.
Okay.
Yes, you have Law and Order, but where do all the actors go to work who the programs don't exist anymore?
Well, look, there's many
there's no
shows
discussion on
out there.
that.
There's many shows. I was just gonna say before, just to say, if someone put a new soap right on ABC tomorrow, a new soap on ABC tomorrow, it would get a crowd.
I don't
That would
think
be
so.
great.
Yeah, I
There are all
think-
these
I
talk
disagree with
shows,
you.
the
I
Chew.
disagree.
I think that would be great.
I think
I told you, I don't watch what's on
something-
between 2 and 3 on ABC anymore.
You don't
is
what?
Chew?
I don't watch whatever's on, when that spot, that One Life to Live was on.
If a new soap came on,
I would watch it.
Yeah. I'm
Do you
telling
think everybody would stop their day at 1
No,
or
no,
2
no.
Well, you
or
could
3?
they don't have
Right,
to.
time frame.
I
No,
see,
they don't
I
have
see.
to.
But do
They
they
don't
have to
have
watch
to.
a soap now
Some
that you
of
have
us
all
are
the
so.
nighttime stuff?
Well, and
We're
what,
just doing the same
the
thing.
online one you were talking about, regardless of the startup problems and everything, they were onto something with the internet, a global
They were just
connection.
too soon.
They learned some things.
Right.
It was rushed. Well, it was a hurry up and wait. They waited and waited till the rights were almost done, and then they got the rights thing straightened out for a while. And they had 6 weeks. We had 6 weeks to take an empty room and turn it into a studio, hair, makeup things. Have a script. Cast people. Do all the legal stuff. Yeah, forget about it. So it did get up and running, and they were learning about how to attract a global audience.
What was the time, I'm interrupting, what was the time frame when One Life to Live, ended and they tried to do the online, how many years ago was that?
I want to say it was a year and a half between.
No,
you mean from now?
calendar years, how many years?
Okay, the show One Life to Live went off the air November of 2011.
Right.
It's not that long, wow, okay.
They went off the air then. They were supposed to pick right up. There was supposed to be a week-long, like Thanksgiving break,
5 years.
and then Prospect Park
Yeah, it was like-
producing was supposed to go right.
Finishing ABC Friday, picking up with them on Monday, same
It's only
studio,
5 years
no
ago.
ripple.
Right now,
They took
they
us
were
all
going
the way
to
till
lose.
Wednesday.
Prospect
of
Park
that.
was going to lose the rights. They were going to lose the rights to One Life to Live and to All My Children unless they fell within a certain time frame. They were going to lose the rights.
Right.
If they didn't start the show.
Exactly.
in March.
No, that's what maybe I
Yeah.
didn't say it right, but yeah, they were finagling over the rights for a long time, and then they finally got the thing secured, and then they only had 6 weeks to get it moving, or they lost the option on the rights.
Gary, I think they had the rights. I don't think they had the money.
Oh, yeah, that's
They had the
usually
rights.
problem.
They had the rights
But
almost.
they had to start production, or they would have
They
lost it.
didn't have the money.
Well, they, okay, we could
No,
talk
that
about
I
it
know
another
for a
time.
fact.
They did have a lot of money at one point.
They had a lot of money.
Ten-
We'll never really know.
But we will
Let's
agree
get on.
that
We'll
it's-
never really
it's all
know. The
about
timing
money,
and
yes.
the money was off.
It just,
And money.
I'm not one of these people, I mean, I inherited a smartphone, it doesn't have a SIM card, so Wi-Fi is fine with me, and if you have to text me, it's bad news, someone died, so I don't really care. But so many people now are, and I have neck issues, so I'm not gonna take a laptop and watch a movie or watch stream something. But so many people today are like, they're watching
Oh, yeah.
programming on their phone.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it was,
I said I
5
would
years
never
too
watch a
soon.
film on my computer, on my
Well, I
laptop,
think
but I
it was-
do.
it was-
Yeah,
I've
maybe
gotten,
it
I
was
love
5 years
Netflix.
too soon.
But you know, the first time somebody tried to go
I didn't
across
watch
the
it. I was-
Oregon Trail to get to the West Coast, they froze to death. And then the next people looked and went, oh, they left in October, we should leave in January. And then those people stepped over the frozen bodies and made it. I think that's the case here. Someone's going to come up with this formula again, because there's a desire since Shakespearean times to have your daily dose.
Tell your
And the only
story.
way to get a daily dose is you got to put production every day. Now, whether that becomes 15 minutes because nobody has 2 seconds to sit still anymore, or 7 minutes, there are people out there. You're working on the Bay. There's people working on
Bay,
different things.
which is going on Amazon Prime. So there's some good stuff happening with this show called The Bay. Tainted Dreams. Tainted Dreams could have been a combination of like a very soap dishy kind of thing, drama but yet comedy. That had a lot of potential.
Yeah,
What
but
was
there,
that?
you know, there are people that grew up with us working these
Yeah.
shows. Actually, what was really wonderful about the One Life to Live All My Children experiment was that it was like I called it soap camp, and it kind of stuck there because we had the same office for the 2 shows, but people from another world, As the World Turns, All My Children, One Life to Live, any show that was in New York, all the what I would call the cream of the crop of the production people and the actors came there, and so there was this really good. I'm speaking production wise now, and that's what's the acting crew because it was set by the shows. As the World people weren't showing up, but in the production area we had the best of the best, and those I know that the people that are younger than I am learned a lot about how to make TV from zippity doo dah. And got an understanding of how the internet thing and the desire to look at phones. I mean, think how much of soap operas are close-ups. Close-up, close-up, close-up. You can look at a close-up on one of those. A quick director story. In the 1960s, New York director, famous director, did All in the Family and a bunch of things. Went to the Directors Guild in Hollywood, to the Hollywood directors. Think of John Ford, think of Alfred Hitchcock, people like that, okay? And went to them and said, there's this new thing called videotape. And the people in New York are going to want to take your movies and put them on television. These guys are sitting around, it was guys then, and cigars, and going, you're out of your fucking mind. We're not putting our films on that little shit box. And the guy said, well, we could take the proceeds, they're going to pay you for that, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, maybe we could do that. But it was a similar moment of, no, we'll never do that. And people saying, no, we'll never look at something on a 2-inch screen. Well, a lot of people are now, all the time.
Looking for Pokemon.
I wonder how, as a director, or maybe with the actor's perspective, how do you get nuance? You hear it's like smile, but with your eyes look skeptical. And, you give all this in expressions which I couldn't even fathom, but you can see it. You can see actors become these, with little twitches and eyebrow raises, emote this stuff without verbalizing it.
You're
How do you get
asking,
that?
you're asking about acting technique.
That's craft,
Which
yes.
so much of it is craft, and everybody does it in their own different way. Most of it having to do with what do you think, what is going on with the character, how much do I have to say, how much do I not have to say, how much do I just sometimes think nothing at all, but with great intensity. You're going to think I'm thinking great fucking thoughts, and I'm not. I'm not thinking anything. We don't do that a lot, but we can do that. That's what an actor does. You're asking what an actor does. It's a very perceptive question, but it's a lot of different answers. And every actor will give you a different answer from a different place. There are all kinds of methods, there are all kinds of ways. You know, they pinch babies sometimes, and that becomes one way of making them cry. But you don't pinch the big actors. You have a thought of something that makes you cry, or makes you think of something that, I just gave myself chills. That you go into an experience that you've had that is analogous to the character situation,
Yeah.
and you let it affect you. You let it go into you so that I can give it to you. I let it first come to me. And it's an acting technique. We're all going for the same thing in different ways.
That's a beautiful answer, because, and that's so the truth. And from a director's perspective, so much of the daytime is how fast we go. Is what I said earlier is set it up, step out of the way, and let the actors do their thing. I've known at different times, but I've been in conundrums where I know from the, so let's say, I know from what's happening or what's going to happen tomorrow, whatever, that perhaps that the stakes should be raised. I hate that term, raise the stakes. It's like, well, let's raise the stakes, you know. But I know that if there's something that a woman is going to use as a trigger to cry, I don't know what that trigger is. I don't know if that's some guy that did something, their mother yelling at them, their uncle diddling them. I don't know where they're going to get that. But I was always did my best to make sure that after that person went there for us, that I somehow went out to check on them and make sure that they came back out of the well, because they're really doing something for you. You know, really giving you something. It's so special and so hard on this level. I just a quick. Like it's a film festival. Write down 23blast.com. That's the movie I produced the last couple of years, okay? And I was brought on there for a couple of different reasons, but one was because we had a under $1 million budget and we had to work fast, and from the daytime I knew how to work fast. One of the actors that we brought on was a daytime actor, whose name I'm freaking...
Kim
Zimmer.
Kim Zimmer, I'm sorry, Kim Zimmer, okay. When I met the real, it was based on a true story, and when I met the real woman in real life, I went, God, this is Kim Zimmer, okay. And so there was a scene where, you know, it's based on a true story of a kid that goes blind and then comes back and does something. So here she is, classic hospital scene that we end up not using, but she's in a little place where everybody goes and kneels down and cries and goes, oh, please, God, please. You've seen a million of those on these shows, because it's about cops, robbers, rich people, poor people, and hospitals. And people go in there and they do their thing. And these are wonderful monologues that are, you know, bread and butter of daytime. To get somebody going, okay, so we're getting set up for this thing. And I know something that the film people there don't know, which is Kim can drop that tear wherever I want it, okay? And so we're looking at the thing, and she says, basically, where do you want it? And I go, well, you know, I want somewhere around here, you know, I'm thinking. And she says, okay, so we start to do the thing. She does this thing that, I don't know if you guys did, but I know Linda Dana used to do this, and she's talking to God up here, and she's working it, and she's getting upset, and, you know, it's welling, now she's tipping it a little bit here to keep it dripping, and then she gets to the word Vinny, and she tips her head, and boom, it comes down. And these people are like, holy shit, did you see that? She did that right on the frickin' word, you know. It wasn't just that, she did it 2 more times, you know, backed it up and did it, where on a lot of films, that might have been all day that we took care of this actor and made sure that she was this and she was that, where daytime people come in and they go, okay, cha-cha-cha, here we go.
You know, we had to work and walk on a tightrope doing so.
And it's great training because you
Oh.
learn all of this stuff as an actor in class of what you can do. You can go off for 20 minutes to prepare and do, and then you gotta produce on the daytime, and you gotta learn how to do it and make it not a cliche and make it personal. I mean, the ones that do it well. Make it personal, make it real, and get on with it. And there is no time, no money to do all of that other, yes.
That's something I want to ask you. I understand plays, films, learning lines, memorization, getting off a page, working with the other actors and actresses, and getting it down and knowing what you're doing and being able to just, go for it. You are on such a short leash as far as putting out work. What is the level of difficulty in memorization of your sides?
It gets harder and harder as you get older and older, I'll tell you that. But when it's well written, and if it's written for the character, and if you're allowed some leeway, it is one of the tools that you use. It is one of the tools that you have. If it's a piece of dreck, if it's badly written, if it has nothing to do with Wanda or Roxy or Delia or Joe, if it's out of left field, unless you have the time to understand their reason for having it come out of left field, if it doesn't make sense, it's almost impossible. And I've seen times where the writing has been very, very bad and people have not been allowed to change it and fix it, and you can watch somebody sitting there and have them torment an actor because they can't do it. And instead of going and helping them, not you, but they're, just do it! Never mind why, just do it! And you start to freeze up. Your little balls go way up and you freeze up, and it doesn't do anybody any good. If it's well written and if it has to do with the character. I used to be, in the early days of the soap, I would be on soap and I would be all over. Can I help you? Can I help? What can I do? What can I do? Let's run our scenes, let's run our scenes. And some young kid would come straight out of either a beauty contest or right out of university where they know everything. And they can learn lines on a dime and would come in with all the mics on and say, who wrote this shit? And I would say, wait. Somebody wrote this and somebody's upstairs, you're gonna hurt their feelings. And when you learn to do the shit as good as they write it, then you have a right to say who wrote this shit. Otherwise, shut the fuck up and learn the lines.
It's some of the best experience.
Whoa, they gotta go to the beauty parlor, they gotta go to the gym, they have no time to run lines and do it, but who wrote this shit?
Right. Or time to delve into what does that
What delve?
line mean?
What is
How do
delve?
I bring life to that line?
Change it, just
And,
change the
and
line.
that,
Yeah.
sometimes it can be really fun having a really bad script.
Sure.
Well,
it's a challenge.
Gotta have a little time for that.
This.
Well,
Gotta have a
remember
time.
Melvin Bernhardt? You remember that?
Yes.
Sure.
Look,
Wacky as a day is long.
when I was young, I heard Melvin say one of the greatest things to a young actor one day who was complaining about the fact that I've done the same damn scene 3 times in the last week. Because sometimes you get stuck in a spot in the story and they
Same
just,
dress.
were you working? And it's hard for the actor to separate sometimes. Some actors come in and it's like a page on a computer. Here's Wednesday, I memorize it, it's gone, now it's Thursday. But sometimes there's residual memory left, and I can see it where they're having trouble because of the script from the day before. And so one of the actors said, I had the same crap the last 3 days. And he goes, I saw those scenes. Today we're going to do them better. But it's a funny way of saying, don't just. I'm not saying that crap because it's stupid. Find a way to say that line. I mean, if you can't, we're going to work and make it better. Figure out why you can't say that, or what you know about your character from being here every day. That is why you're having a problem saying that, because you don't believe that or whatever.
I would just change the shit and not ask anybody. Okay, that's what I mostly did for many, many years. Now, whether that's allowed or not, I didn't give a shit. Either you'd stop me and go, because I've always believed that if you can make it better, you just baffle them with your own brilliant bullshit that they go, oh,
That's
that
what they
scene
want you to
works.
put the clothes on and.
Yeah.
So there's wiggle room.
What?
There's wiggle room.
Well, there is.
I
took a
mentioned
lot of
earlier,
wiggle room.
Eileen
You
writes.
wiggled a lot.
Yeah, but Eileen writes music. She's a writer. Okay, so
I
what-
know about rewriting. I couldn't write this stuff from scratch.
I've seen them act.
But I know how to rewrite, and I not only know how to rewrite my part, I know how to rewrite everybody's part. I couldn't write it from scratch, but I knew how to rewrite. If something didn't work, I would, the phraseology of something, I would figure out how to make it work, and that, I
You have
love
to
that
do
now.
But it's
Right,
tricky
you
when
have
it's,
to
when
do
it's,
it,
when
right.
it's moving fast, and there are young actors who don't have the chops that they have, knowledge of their character, or knowledge of how to make that real. So then all of a sudden think, well, I'm gonna just write what I wanna say, and they're screwing up plot points.
You're also screwing up blocking for people,
Well-
that a camera has to go on a
Thank
certain
you.
word, or a camera has to go on a certain line, and if you're fudging
Oh, I
around
would
and
never,
dancing.
no,
they
they would
will
always
blah,
know
blah,
what
blah,
I was
blah.
gonna say.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you,
I know.
Carolyn.
Because I would do it in
Better
the,
respect what the other person is doing.
Well, because from a director's perspective, you know, if you're doing a film, you go into this space with the actors before any crew is there, and we work it, and we talk, and, oh, you want to sit there, you want to rise here, that's great, we work it all out. Then the director talks to DP and says, well, we need a light for this over here, because they're going to stand, we're going to do this, okay. In a soap opera, because there's, well, let's say just one show, 50 pages, I've got the script a week prior with floor plans and things and drawings of everything and notes about where the story's going, where it's been, and all this kind of stuff. And I start to lay out a week ahead, where would somebody start this scene? At what point do they make the anguished cross downstage so that they can see me in the foreground and Marilyn behind me lying? You know, there's things that I have to figure out with lighting and microphones and shadows, because if somebody's upstage and somebody's downstage, I have to figure out how to get a microphone there without putting a shadow. So a lot of this has to be preset. So I would ask them in blocking, can
What do
you
you
give
mean?
me
What do
an
you mean?
anguished cross downstage right at this line? I ask as a question because I want their input to not just say cross here when I want this, because I want to know if they can. Does it make sense for them to cross down at that point? They might, and they can say either yes or no, I wouldn't do that, or
Let me do this instead.
I'd
Can that
rather,
work
could
for
I
you?
do it on the line after that? Because that's where I really feel it, okay? But we have to get that all laid out prior
And
to
you
going
have
up on
to
the
do it,
floor.
work it together.
On the
with
floor, it's
writer, with the
$1,000 a minute to run the studio, okay? I'm not gonna brag about the stress I survived for 19 years, but it's $1,000 a minute, okay? So as a director, I have to have things pretty well laid out, especially on a day if they're like, at the end, there's 54 scenes, okay? I have a certain amount of time for people's creativity, if you will, but at the last moment creativity, like she's talking about. You can't walk up in a place where the meter's running $1,000 a minute, and I've laid everything out to get us all out before dinner, and then somebody stops and goes, you know,
I can't do this.
I came in the morning, this morning, and I looked at this shit. Well, you should have read it last night and
no, you
called
should
in
have
what
read
you
it a
didn't
week
like.
ago when you got the script.
Well, I'm saying if the script
you
didn't
don't
come
always
out, but
get it.
whenever it
No,
came out.
we pretty much
But many
got it.
times people would come in the day of and just grab their stuff and, complain about the coffee's not warm enough and, and then stop the train when it wasn't time to stop the train.
I mean,
And-
let me just say, I could never learn a script a week before, a soap opera script a week before, but I would always read it a week before just to make sure that it tracked and where
But
am
what
I
happened at
going.
the end was we weren't getting them a week before. We weren't getting anything. We were just
I
all this
was-
is coming so
I was
fast.
going up and getting them. I always managed to get something a week before. General Hospital, they'd give me a hard time. And I'd say, no. Before I get on that plane, you have to give me that script. And they go, well, I don't know. No. I don't care. I don't need the whole script. Just give me my scenes, please. It's, that's where we should be protected as actors,
But it was a wonderful time. And when it
Oh.
started, and it was a half hour, and everybody was there for the same reason, they were going to put on a little play, and we were telling stories about homosexuality and abortions and black-white relationships and what was going on in the world on whatever level. That's what it was meant to be doing. And then it got blown up, and then it went off the air because it got blown up. And it didn't stay just gradually doing things a little better. It just got blown up because you could get more commercials and more money on it.
Well,
And
at
it
the end,
lost its
our show was
intimacy.
like 26 minutes.
Oh,
It was
sure.
full of commercials.
It lost
like
its
30 minutes.
intimacy sometimes. That's why, when the scenes were longer, they just were deeper, and a deeper place for the audience to go to. Not just the actor, but for the audience.
It's like a real conversation, you don't
As
just
soon
talk
as
to somebody for 12 seconds.
As soon as MTV, you know, MTV changed things around radically. I remember that as a real turning point when MTV, which I loved MTV. But what started happening was they felt that people's concentration, you know, you needed a shot here, a shot there, a shot there.
Every 3
you know.
seconds.
So it really changed things around a lot because they just didn't think that people had the kind of concentration that people do have, I think.
I've done a little background acting, and so sometimes, you know, it's a lot of sitting around, and it seems like they do the same thing, the exact same thing 20 times. And I know there's stuff going on behind me, but I don't know. So, like, what are the directors doing? Why is it that they seem to run the same shot over and over and over, and I don't even see the difference? But clearly they're working on all sorts of things.
Well, the camera angles can change, especially when you're working
You do a
background.
master shot, you do close-ups of everybody else,
Yeah.
you do different
On nighttime.
perspectives, and you do all different kinds of things. And you're doing the same thing, sometimes you're doing the same thing, you're not even on camera. I'm
Right.
just doing it so that she can talk
Right.
to me, and I'm doing it, and then she does it for somebody else, because we think we're the only ones in the scene, or the only ones in the world. The director's the only one, because there's one of him and so many of us. There's 3 background people, and it's all about them, and they can't get their head in the shot, because then you won't see anybody else in the shot. And
Yeah.
everybody thinks it's all about them, and it's not. It's about everybody.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on. It's a lot, and it is
I'm
the
sure,
difference.
yeah.
You know, we had the beauty of a proscenium stage, and really capturing something that was like a play. Okay.
And 3 cameras.
Film, it's a complete other animal where you're shooting. You're going grocery shopping
Yeah.
for the editor. You're providing all these different pieces, big pieces, little pieces, cutaway pieces, and all that continuity of making sure that that cross was at the right time. And there's so much that goes on in a frame you know, there were many times where you almost don't see things because I'm watching the performance. And I know what I have written, especially with what we did. It was kind of like a piece of music where I know what I want and where I want it. But a lot of times I wouldn't even see something walking through the background, or because I'm watching, you know. And I would always, of course, take the better performance with whatever the hell they were looking at in the background over
But that's
having the background
unusual.
perfect. And,
That's unusual for a director to be that interested in what an actor is doing. Very often you can go, blah, 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 they don't know what you're doing, and they're busy kind
Well,
of
'cause all
getting
the
the shot
mechanics.
and all the mechanical stuff. You say,
Yeah.
well, wait a minute, I just dropped my teeth.
Yeah,
I just dropped my drawers.
Did
No,
anybody
no, no,
realize
it's okay,
this?
it's okay. You're not on camera, it's okay. But how do I finish the scene if I drop my drawers?
But see, you know, Gary had the advantage of being, he had been a cameraman. He had been a technical director, so he knew what rhythm was. And also because he's musical himself, he also knew what the musicality of scene was. Most of the time you're not lucky enough to, and the more insecure a director is, the more he gives you just the most mundane blocking and doesn't really want to hear your opinion if they're very insecure. A secure director goes, well, what do you think? You know, what do you know, which you always do.
well, I would make a joke out of, would you give me an anguished crossed out? But it was meant that, okay, this is the anguished moment. If you're 14 years old and you don't understand, okay, or if you don't feel anguished, let's talk about it now as a grown-up actor. I saw something on General Hospital when I was watching something that Eileen did recently, and there was a scene in the hospital, General Hospital. And you know, the opening teaser, these 2 young hunky doctors come up and man, they get in each other's face, and then they cut away. And then later they come to something and they're talking, and I'm realizing as I'm actually listening to the dialogue, okay,
Mistake,
that
big mistake.
one of those guys was supposed to grab the other guy in the first scene, you know, you MF or blah blah blah, okay? And the next 3 or 4 scenes meant nothing because this guy didn't grab the other guy. And I from being 3,000 miles away watching it, I knew that what happened was they went in the morning, one of those 2 macho guys said, he's not grabbing me, or the other guy said, I'm not grabbing him, I wouldn't do that. And come on folks, this is it's an accentuated life we're showing here. But no one bothered to adjust what didn't happen, they were just going so fast, they just went, okay, don't grab them, here we go, let's go, take 5, 4, go. And
That would happen
at the end of the day, it made no sense whatsoever, and I wonder, do the fans,
know that.
are they watching, are they paying attention to that, or?
That happened in General Hospital. I call General Hospital generic hospital, you know, or general inhospitable, you know,
General
general
inhospitable.
inhospitable. Because I found it to be so homogenized and so, nobody wanted to get there. You couldn't find anybody to like run lines with, God forbid. Although I have to say Maura West was great. I ran a lot of stuff with Maura because we had some difficult stuff. But other people, it was like, well, I don't know, meet you in an hour. Well, but then we're going to have to go on the floor in 10 minutes. Well, we can run this in 10 minutes. I used to run scenes with Linda Dano. She'd say to me, let's come in 2 hours
Early and
early.
work on it, of course.
2 hours early. Don't even learn yours in the night because we're not working to the. We would work on the scene. We'd run it and run it. Have such a great time rehearsing.
Yeah.
I love Linda Dano, you know who we were talking about? She,
It was
I remember when I
so
first worked with her in the
fantastic.
world, there were days where she would walk in the morning, dry rehearsal, 7 o'clock in the morning, and she didn't tape at 2. She'd walk in and she'd be crying already. And I go, oh God, please face yourself. But of course she would, but she just was so.
Oh, she didn't know one of her lines.
Yeah.
But the
No,
point is
and she would come up the first day I worked with her.
Right, she would get it.
We've
No,
got this
because
whole
she knew
thing
she
to do, and they're 5, 4, 3, 2. She goes, line. And I go, line? Holy shit, she's got like 5 pages, you know, and they go, blue sea. And she goes, oh, okay. And boom, man, 5 pages of blue sea come out, you know. She just terrorized me like that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
What's my first
you know, on
word?
Ryan's Hope, I used to follow people into the bathroom, go, we have to rehearse now, and they go, but they loved her, you know.
Well, but they would see me and they, oh God,
No,
here
I
comes
know.
you wanna
Here she
run 'em.
comes,
Here
here she
comes you
comes.
wanna run 'em. Leave me
Yeah.
alone, I gotta go to the gym.
Me
Here
too.
comes you wanna run 'em. That was my nickname.
Me too,
Yeah.
me too.
But there were
like,
people,
oh,
there were
Eileen.
people that had lines on the floor, they
Oh.
had lines
Talking
in
Buchanan
here.
there.
I'm talking Buchanan.
And there used to be
And first time they took
prompters.
off the teleprompters.
football.
Oh, I thought
Phil
you were gonna
Carey.
have- I thought you were gonna have a heart attack.
They
Phil
used to
Carey.
have prompters, you know, next to, on the
Yeah.
cameras
Yeah.
with all the dialogue running.
Phil was so tall, so he could look over anybody's head,
Right,
and his
look at the
lines
top.
were
But
right
they also
there.
had one called the football. We called the football, which was a portable one. Okay, there was one on each camera. Then there was another one that could be put randomly
I never
anywhere.
worked with him, I
Well,
couldn't
Phil
deal
would
with
pay
him.
that guy. He'd give a guy 20 every
Yeah.
time they had a scene, so that he could put it in his desk drawer. Okay, so Ace would be in his desk drawer, and he would down here, and you go. You think about Phil. Think about how many times you heard him say, "Let me tell you
This
something."
is Asa Buchanan.
Because let me tell you something, boy, man, I'm gonna take a breath and I'm gonna look down, let me tell you something, boy, and I'm gonna read what the hell I'm gonna tell him. And now we're gonna, or he put it behind him in the bookcase. I mean, he was a master.
I could do that for phone on Ryan's Hope. We
Terrible
had
collection,
these long
but a
phone
great-
Yeah,
conversations.
but I can't
And if
do
the
it.
prompter was right there, it was hard not to look at the prompter because it's right in front of you and you're on the phone. But otherwise, I couldn't.
No, I
couldn't.
hated
It
the
made the scenes
teleprompter.
much
Phil,
better.
oh
You know,
my
it was
God.
it was strictly a money thing. Strictly a money thing. Let's get rid of one less person that runs the prompter and the other guy. That's too
I
people to
couldn't
get
deal
up.
with the prompter.
But
If I
it
knew
made
it
the
was there
scene
and I
so
would
much
suddenly be
better.
doing this as opposed to talking to you.
Well, you're
Because I
right.
knew it was, well, that's what I'm supposed to say.
Yeah, you're in the
And
middle
it
of the
was-
scene and they're looking over here at the
and-
TV.
Yeah, but then I'm looking over there at the
Yeah.
TV. I once had a scene with Doris Belloc and I'm talking to her and she's going on and they say, why are you looking at the teleprompter? I said, I'm not looking at the teleprompter, she is. I'm looking at her.
Saying you
Oh,
don't,
God,
you don't have
Lester.
any kind of prompters anymore?
No, no, for
nothing.
years,
So if
Yeah.
someone
for 20
forgets-
years.
So if someone forgets a line, what happens? They have
You
to.
have to
stop
stop.
and they
You
hate
stop
you.
and they go up.
But you know now it's really easy. When I did
Edward.
Ryan's Hope, the
Well, back then you had to record with one tape recorder, so the line cut, ready one, take the wide shot, ready two, take the close up, take the, every piece that we did was like we were chiseling it into a stone, okay? Later on, each camera had its own recording device, so that we could
But
fix
the-
things later or stop in the middle of a scene and do what's
but
called
on
a
Ryan's
pickup.
Hope the tape machines were on like some
Oh,
other
they
headquarters.
were in New Jersey.
Yeah, okay. So,
They were literally
all right,
in New Jersey.
here's how
Union,
scary
New
Ryan's
Jersey.
Hope was. I had a scene in a confessional that was absolutely 12 pages long. And you know, it was all me talking with Father McShane going, yes.
Yes, my child. Yes, my child.
So I'm doing pretty good. But you know, these are chunks. I mean, whole pages.
Yeah.
Whole pages describing events from four years. So I'm doing pretty good, but at a certain point, I don't know where the fuck I am. Okay, stop. So I had to get out of the confessional. Then for 15 minutes, they have to figure out where they're gonna do that edit. Where are they gonna do that? Now, this is so different now, but back then, you know, and they cut you a break because the stuff was really hard. You know, when you're in a confessional, that's when I could have used
You
it.
could stick it right on the wall, huh? You
But
stuck it
no,
up
there
right-
was nothing. There was just nothing. You know, it was just.
Script
asked
writing
about
is like, is like,
Techniques, you ask about stuff. I've done a number of one-person plays. And I did a play on 42nd Street. Long play, all by myself coming in. And Lee, my husband, came to see every performance.
Was this Scottish?
No, Kaddish was not a one person.
Oh.
It seemed that way, but it was not. And I came onto the stage and I was coming and I knew that I had to go a certain journey. I was going to go to a psychoanalyst, and then after that I was going to get cancer, and then I was going to get better from cancer. So I knew the trip I had to make. And I came in, I put my mail down, I did what I had to do, and I went, absolutely, who are you? Where are you? Who are your people? And I said, oh my God. Oh my God. And I found it and came back. You find it when you go into yourself. I found it, I came back, I did the rest of the play, and really was like,
There's nothing scarier.
but he almost had ours.
there was no backstage. The stage manager was in the booth above the back of the stage. There was nobody, nothing, and it was like, is my name Alice? Is my name Wanda? Is my name Marilyn? Oh my God.
Wow. It's the actors, what's called the actor's nightmare.
And then you let it, you don't stand in your own way,
I can't.
and if you're lucky, you come back to where you are.
It's scaring me.
Scary to
You
hear your
came-
nightmare.
Well, it was like,
I can't imagine.
well, you can imagine Lee.
I mean, I can't imagine.
You can imagine Lee.
He was probably having a heart attack.
And he'd run lines with me. I think he knew what was coming next.
Yelled out.
And he said, he couldn't, he said, and I sat there, I couldn't help you. Nobody could help me. Oh, I sent somebody one, I think it was Michael Storm, Dr. Larry. I sent him to do a play with somebody. He was going to do a play with Jack Betts, a play that I met the cast and I quit. But Michael stayed in the play. And they were doing a play with Hugh Carey, who was the governor of the, with his niece or something. And he said that they started the play, and he came on stage, and she came on stage, and they said, wait a minute, I want to start again. And she left the stage, and he was left standing. And he cursed me. Whoa, did he curse me?
Oh my God.
No, I want to start it again. And the people are going, what do you mean? I'll be back, I'm going to start it again. Whew,
Oh my God.
the actress life.
Yeah.
The actress
I
life.
want to tell a Judy Light story. Can I tell
That's
Judy
what
Light
I was
story?
thinking about it.
You mentioned Dr. Larry.
Right,
You had
that-
mentioned, I think it was you or you mentioned.
Well, that's what I was thinking of, the
When-
scene of Karen Woloch on,
In court?
in the court.
Okay.
And that's
I was
when
there,
a lot
and
of
I-
people watched and talked about it. It's like that was a conversation in life, you know?
So,
It's about Karen.
that scene's going on. Now, this is something where this character came to town, she married the handsome doctor that everybody loved, the goodest guy in town. Evil guy comes into town that used to use her as a hooker and starts to extort money from her, and it's this whole bill. And of course, she ends up in a murder scene or something, and now she has to testify to get somebody else, Bad Brad or somebody exonerated, whatever the hell was going on. So she's up on that stand, and she starts working this thing, and she goes from being resistant to the prosecution and very haughty and, just like Spiro Agnew or something to these people, and slowly they break her down in a good 12, 13-page scene, a beautifully crafted 12, 13 scene. Well, the guy that was, I always remember this guy, Bobby Knutson, who was a guy, he was a plastic thing with pens in his thing, cameraman with a flannel shirt guy, very tough guy, who had her close up. And I was helping him with his camera, and he's watching this, and it was tougher with these old cameras to stay in focus. And she's tight and moving around, and he doesn't want to blow this because this is big. This is something that's been worked up for like 2 years or something, and this will probably be an Emmy for her if she pulls this off. Well, in the middle of this, she goes from being haughty to starting to get broken down to confessing the whole thing and crying and good and just, oh my God, but the hair is on my arms raised up right now just thinking about this moment. 2/3 of the way through that, a barn door falls off a light.
Oh, God.
Just in the middle of it, bigger than shit. It's not up where she's taking a breath, it's right in the middle of the sobbing. And half the people are looking and wonder if it's going to hit her in the head, and the other discussion on the headset is, oh shit, what are we going to do? Because this is back in the day where we couldn't just pick it up, and never mind, that's always, producers, let's just pick it up. Like this woman just went from playing volleyball in 4th grade to confessing to being a hooker. Okay, that's quite an arc in the scene. Scene ends, and it was with this maestro, David Pressman, who was a great, great director. And he comes on the floor and he says, that was really fantastic. But you heard that thing. We can't get it out of the thing. We got to do it again. And Judy said,
Oh, no.
it's kind of like balling someone, okay? I think I need a moment to have my cigarette after that one. And, so she went outside, she smoked a cigarette, came back in, and she'd also, wiped out all her makeup and hair and everything, and they redid her and everything. She did that scene again, better, of course, or maybe it just felt that way at the time. But my takeaway from it as a young camera assistant was, holy shit, look at that woman. I could never believe a word she would ever say. That was the best. She went from laughing to, okay, here we go, and I mean, masterful what they do as far as, it's almost like they're dropping their drawers in front of us boldly, and I really respect you both for that for the years.
We did a week of live shows on One Life to Live in 2002, which was, although it was fun, it was scary.
I would think it was.
It was scary, but it was fun. And the adrenaline rush, we would come in the night before, and we actually got more rehearsal. We would rehearse the night
Like a
before.
show.
We, like the old days. So, it was, but there are no redos on that. That's it.
And there are no redos in life either. We know that. There are second acts, and second curtains, but there are no redos. I think we have to wrap this up. I think we all have to wrap it up.
Thank you. You've been
Thank you. Okay. Oh, boy. Whoa.
No, you can switch back, you can say like,
Are you going to stay, Sleepy?
no, I think we
Nice meeting you
That's
guys.
what
Nice
you
to meet you.